Welcome to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Hi everyone, I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money gamer extraordinaire. Today we're talking about annuities for retirement with nationally recognized annuity expert, Mike McLaughlin. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, good to be here.
I've had you on before, and we have a lot of consumer interest now, annuities. We talked about, when I had you on last, I think we talked about lifetime income you can't outlive, and people go, Steve, I've seen so much traffic out on Google, annuities. I love annuities. I hate annuities. I don't know where to go on it as a consumer. But on that last show we talked about, a lot of people were like, wow, I really like that idea of guaranteed income I can't outlive with a COLA rider on it to make sure my inflation, it's going up every year. Some of those are compounded. That blows my mind, 3 to 5%. So, but let's walk through some of the options. I know that there's interest rate annuities that are paying, they pay similar to a bank CD. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, yeah, I think one of the biggest advantages that annuities provide any client is tax-deferred growth. You're just growing your money quicker. You want to think of yourselves as almost a bank machine when it comes to retirement, and the higher capital balance that you have, the better chance that you have for a successful retirement. And by not paying tax on that each and every year, that means that your account balance just grows quicker. The reality is that interest rates are still substantially higher on a fixed annuity than they are in CDs. I checked bankrate.com this morning, and the average for a 5-year CD is still right around 85 basis points. We're looking at rates for a 5-year guarantee of somewhere between 2.35 and 2.55. So you're about 150 above. So on a $100,000 CD, you can earn and you keep $1,500 more money. When you stop and think about it, if you think what you could buy for $1,500, that's a lot of money that you're throwing away over a long period of time.
Just to be clear though, we have to ultimately pay ordinary income taxes on this, but right now the annuity gives us the power to defer.
Absolutely.
So I'm just pushing it off, and I like the idea that a consumer has the ability to pay taxes when you want to pay taxes, right?
Control.
And I like that. I like the control. So I could do fixed interest. I like that. Talk about indexing. I mean, for most of our consumers, they go, ooh, S&P 500, market risk, exposure to equities. I'm a little nervous about that. But talk about it, because there's really a good hedge position in here in indexing. Talk about it. What is that difference?
I think the first thing that the consumer has to understand is that even if you are tied to the S&P 500 in a fixed indexed annuity, your assets are still backed by the general accounts of the insurance company. And they come with a guarantee of return of principal, or maybe a 1% guarantee rate of return, which relative to where money is right now, still not a bad option. But what's nice about a fixed index, I think, is that no one controls how much that you earn, because you're linked to an unmanaged index in just about every situation with fixed indexed annuities. Now, you certainly have a cap rate, but those are dictated by option prices by the insurance carrier. But it's a great way to earn something that no one can really play with the amount of money that you earn, because it's an uncapped, it's an unmanaged index.
So you could, I mean, conceivably, you could make 5–7% if the S&P did well. I'm using only one index, of course.
Yep.
But you're saying there's no real downside risk to these indexed annuities.
Absolutely. Zero is your hero, as we say. That if the index goes down in any one year, and you walk away with zero.
Okay.
And then what's
you
nice...
didn't get anything credited.
Didn't get anything
But you didn't lose anything either.
Didn't lose anything, but what's nice, and the hidden gem about fixed indexed annuities, is even though that your index goes down by, say, maybe 25%, for the next year, you're starting at the low point. You're not starting back where you had put your money in. So even if that index had gone up just maybe by 10%, you get the gain of that, even though you're still underwater from where you originally put in at the index.
So really, if you're thinking about this, you really need to be what? Probably minimum of what? 5–7 years?
Yeah, we typically sell. I think our average duration is about 6.5 years on the products that we sell.
Now, and when I do the indexing, there's other indexing, right? There's some foreign indexes, there's some domestic, not just the S&P, although it's the it's the Vanguard.
It is, yeah, it is by far the largest index, the S&P 500. We do see some interest in some LIBOR. With an increase in interest rates that can go up substantially, and there's a multiplier effect to that. We also have seen some carriers come out with commodity indices. linked to gold and other commodities. So it's interesting to see where the industry will go in the near future.
But all in all, when I'm dealing with an index, if I'm hearing you correctly, my loss position will never be experienced because that's part of the guarantee of the contract.
Absolutely.
So I might get zero, but I won't get anything below it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, when I'm looking at this, I could be strategy. Like, for example, I might want to lock in a interest annuity for the first 5 years. I like that. You're saying maybe 2.5%. Lock that down for 5. I notice that people are not willing right now. A lot of advisors are not willing to lock down interest rates pretty much any longer than that because we still think rates are going to rise. And according to our brand new Fed chairman, sounds like they're going to start tapering a bit, right? Absolutely. And start pulling back. And that means that rates are going to somehow go up. That's what I think is going to happen. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how to use these annuities in your portfolio. They have tax advantages, and they may even have some income advantages that you never knew about. We'll be right back.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged indexed universal life, from one of the largest distributors of indexed universal life, Ash Brokerage.
Well, welcome back. We're in the second segment with our nationally recognized Mike McLaughlin, a gun in annuities, an expert. And we're talking about, I want to kind of get now past a little bit. We've done some indexing. We've talked about interest. Some people are much more aggressive. They may even look at variable annuities with separate sub-accounts. But when we're looking at different annuities, we're looking because we like the non-qualified annuity. It has the power to accumulate without having to pay taxes on my gain. I love that. Now, I have accumulation. I've heard you talk about this before. That's during our accumulation phase. We have the accumulation phase, and then Mike, I've heard you talk about the de-accumulation phase. And that really, it's not the same, is it? It has to be treated totally different.
Absolutely, yeah. There could be a massive snowball effect if you don't de-accumulate your assets properly. It's a risk, and sequence of returns is a huge risk during the de-accumulation period, especially when you're in a variable contract. You could average 7% over the history of your portfolio. But if you have one bad year in the very beginning, that could make as much as a 13-year difference in when you run out of money. So that's a huge risk that a lot of people don't take a look at.
Now, I noticed you had an article that just came out a little while ago on sequence of events, these sequence in retirement. And if you want that, you can just go ahead and write me at steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com, and I'll send it to you. Happy to do so. When I'm looking at chronology, so it sounds like chronology, I'm going into distributions. I may have a qualified plan. I may have money that I now want to look at this annuity because it can give me 10-year guarantee, 20-year guarantee. It could give me up to 30-year guarantee. It could give me lifetime. There's so many options here, and those are lockdown rates. And I'm really surprised that they have the ability to put on top of that an inflation protection called a COLA rider, cost of living adjustment. That could be as high as 3 to 5%, and some of this is compounded.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great tool. And again, when you're trying to look at, okay, what are my basic expenditures? What do I need for bread, food, gas, housing, those types of things? Those things are all going to go up by 3 to 5%, maybe even a little bit more. But we can put it into a position where the income grows along with your expenses.
I've noticed the CPI doesn't take into account gasoline and groceries.
Right. Yep.
So I'm kind of thinking like, hey, we're not going to be looking at the CPI for a real life scenario. We really need to look at cost of living. And I think that 3 to 5%, at least under our current economy, seems to be very reasonable and approachable and probably doable.
Yeah, inflation has certainly been in check with the low interest rates. But as they begin to tamper a little bit and those interest rates go up, we would reasonably expect to have inflation come back.
Now, a lot of people, when they ask me, I get an email, they're always surprised at this phrase. Steve, you talk about income you can't outlive, and it's based on interest rate. It's based on return of my basis, my original money I contributed. But there's also this thing in insurance called mortality credits. What is that?
Mortality credits is just pooling your life expectancies. So let's say that you have 4 people, and you're going down the road, and you're getting $1,000 a month, and then one person passes away, then that $4,000 that they were paying out now gets divided among the remaining 3. Next year, one other person passes away, Now that $4,000 is divided among the two people, so you have $2,000 each. It's a great tool that only insurance carriers can provide to their clients.
Now, I've noticed that part of the difference between going from one annuity to another is how they price their mortality credits, how they have done in their bond accounts when they're in their portfolio. The combination, this artful combination of interest rate crediting and mortality crediting is really different, and you have to shop this.
Absolutely, and these can change week by week and sometimes day by day. But we talk about credit ratings all the time. You really have to dig down deep and look to see how that carrier is actually buying their bonds, what they're investing in, and what's that duration, and does that match the proper duration for life expectancy?
And of course, you'll be talking to your advisor about that. I'm sure you're sitting there, how can I do that? That's why we have advisors. When we're looking at annuities as part of your portfolio, we're looking at it because we want to be able to guarantee some ideas here, some finance, so that part of your personal economy is always in granite. We're trying to do something contractual so that we can take a little bit of the headache. I mean, people are really concerned about living longer. It's the #1 risk now to retirement. I want you to speak a little bit before we close out. This idea of single premium immediate annuities and deferred income annuities. They seem to be as hot as they've ever been right now because it's lifetime that you can't outlive.
Absolutely. It is the #1 concern for clients across the country. And being able to put something away and forget about it, it's an incredible tool, one that protects you from inflation, but most importantly, it's the foundation of any type of retirement plan.
So if I choose a single premium immediate annuity or a deferred income annuity, again, there's many choices here. I'm just giving you the two big ones. I can lock down my income. I could put a adjustment, a COLA adjustment, so I have inflation. It's rising every year. And even if I turn out to be the Guinness Book of World Records, Jean Clement, who lived 122 years, 164 days, they're making that payment.
Absolutely. Lock, stock, barrel, guaranteed.
So it's really important when you're thinking about the annuity company to look at their ratings and have your advisor walk you through the basic balance sheet just to make sure you feel comfortable with the due diligence and do a little bit of due care for your own policy. Remember, it's your retirement. Well, that's all the time we have on our show for today. I want to thank Mike McLaughlin for being my special guest and today's Money Mentor. And before moving forward with any of the ideas on the show, always consult your tax advisor or legal counsel. And as the good Reverend John Wesley once said, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. I'll see you next week.